Hey everybody, welcome back to Project F-Bomb. The question of the day is, do we work on the box or the frame in the rear end? Let's take a look. Originally we had talked about welding up the frame supports and the wheel tubs and getting the box done and then lifting it off to get the rear end in place and have some frame supports to weld up there. But after thinking about it, I'd hate to do the box and then lift it off, do the rear end and the frame, and then set the box back on, and then all of a sudden we don't have bolt holes lining up exactly where it needs to be because the frame moved a little bit or whatnot. So I'm thinking to save some headache down the road, let's just lift the box off and finish up the rear end and the frame. So let's get to it. All right, everybody, we got the bolts off the box and tires off and these straps in here. So let's hope that they hold and we'll hoist this up and get this box off. Well, that was a bit of a balancing act, but hey, we got her off and I think we're pretty well supported there. So I suppose we will pull these old box supports off and then take a good look at this rear end. Make sure that it is centered and where it needs to be and get the pinion angle halfway close before we go and weld these brackets on. And some of these brackets are gonna need probably ground down. See how big of an angle or big of a gap we have there. Got to do some modifying. This one sits pretty decent on this side. I have never done one of these 4-links before, so I suppose we get it halfway close to where it needs to be and maybe put some tack welds on and make sure that you can raise and lower the rear end and everything is free and it's not binding up. And if our pinion angle is halfway close, it still leaves us quite a bit of room for adjustment, whether we need to change the angle back or forth or move it back and forth. So hopefully we're doing the right thing here, but I guess we'll find out. Well, my buddy Alex and I measured and measured and measured again, and we think we have these brackets where they need to be, spot welded anyway. We got on it and it seemed to move pretty freely up and down. The pinion angle's pretty close, so he is going to final weld them all in. Well, this turned out really good. Currently, right now, we are going to have to clearance this just a little bit. That coilover comes really close to it. So I got this piece of pipe from my brother-in-law, and we're gonna half it and open it up, and trace where it needs to go and weld that in just to get a little extra clearance. But for right now, we are going to pull this motor out. Buddy Caleb's coming over today, and we're gonna try to get this engine on a stand and maybe tear it apart and see what we need for bearings, rings, and talk about what we want to do with it. So for right now, we're gonna get this thing pulled out. So we got the pipe cut in half. We put it in the press to kind of open it up a little bit. So now we're gonna cut into that back brace and see if we can make it fit. All right, we got her all notched out and it actually fits into place. So, just need to burn this bad boy in and we're good to go. All right, we got that back brace clearance for the coilover and everything's looking good. I was really hoping to get all of this painted up before we put it back in there. But this video has went from summer to fall to winter. It's now the end of November and it's about 20 degrees, which is not ideal painting weather. So I think for now, we are just going to put these axle seals in now that we are done welding on this and get this rear end underneath there. That way we can actually push this over to the other warm shed. So let's get to it. It's in. How exciting is that? Everything looks pretty decent. The only issue I can see is it is still gonna hit right at this corner and on the bottom here, you can see it's really close. So I think I'm going to take the grinder and just clearance that down here and clearance this up here just to give it a little more wiggle room and we should be good to go. All right, I like where it's sitting now. We actually have a little bit of clearance in there. I think to make it work really good and make sure it's not gonna hit, I might add a couple of washers in here just to kick this out just a little bit to make sure it doesn't hit. Because if it slid all the way forward, then it will smack it and we don't want that. So just a little bit of extra clearance will work wonders there. Other than that, I think we're all good to go. It is in and functioning. Still a few more things to do. Like I said, I want to get some paint on it and whatnot, but it's at least in good enough shape to get pushed over to the other shed. But before we push it over to the other shed, we need to replace the firewall. That'll be in the next video. Thanks for watching Rosie's Garage, and we'll catch you next time.